and welcome back to Fly Over Logic, the podcast series where we talk about absolutely everything. I'm your host, Sam Ruiz. In today's episode, we'll be talking about the cancer epidemic that is plaguing Iowa. I hope you stick around because on this episode, we won't be holding back. We are not politically affiliated and are definitely not politically correct. If you want to hear facts, stick around. Things are going to get interesting. I want to be clear. I am an advocate for the farmer. I'll stand shoulder to shoulder with them any day of the week. My fight isn't with the people on the land, it's with the corporations, the policies, and the politicians forcing us into a daily routine of chemical exposure. We're all being made sick by a system we didn't ask for. It's very easy to ignore the issue until it happens to you or to a family member. Once the problem hits home, it becomes extremely hard to ignore. I moved to Iowa a couple years ago. I'm a project manager for a contracting firm, and we do projects all over the U.S. I worked in and around Iowa and Nebraska for a couple of years and ended up meeting my now fiance. Long story short, we bought a house in her hometown, and I am now a proud resident of Southwest Iowa. After moving to Iowa, I started noticing something unsettling. Cancer talk seemed to be woven into the daily routine here. It felt like every other week I was hearing about a new diagnosis or someone losing their battle. It's a trend that never seems to end in these parts. That's what pushed me to stop just listening and start reading up on what's actually happening with cancer in Iowa. For the third year running, Iowa holds a grim distinction. We have the second highest cancer incident rate in the United States. As of 2026, Iowa has the fastest growing cancer rate in the U.S. But here's the part that should keep you up at night. While cancer rates are dropping in 48 of the 50 states, Iowa is one of the only 2 states where the rate is actually rising. Let that sink in. Everyone else is winning the fight. We're losing it. 87 of Iowa's 99 counties reported cancer rates significantly higher than the national trend. Iowa is now ranked second in the nation for new cancer cases among residents aged 20 to 39. In 2025 alone, an estimated 21,200 Iowans were diagnosed with cancer. We are nearly 10% above the national average. Whether it's breast, kidney, prostate, or lung cancer, the numbers in our state are outliers that demand an answer. And today, we're going to get past the genetic excuses about lifestyle and look at the chemistry of our environment. Let's get real. Why Iowa? It isn't just because we like bacon and beer. It's industrial scale agriculture and the fallout of how we treat our land. Iowa has over 22 million acres of corn and soybeans. To grow it, we dump massive amounts of synthetic nitrogen and animal manure on the soil. That nitrogen turns into nitrates, which leaches into our groundwater. A growing body of research now links these high nitrate levels directly to increased risk of cancer. 13 out of 16 types of cancer afflicting Iowans are linked to these exposures. A recent report from the Iowa Environmental Council and the Harkins Institute linked elevated cancer rates to farm chemicals. We are using pesticides that are banned in the EU, yet Iowa uses them more than almost any other state. Pesticide exposure alone is now being compared to the health risk of smoking. You have to look at what we're putting in our soil. According to the 2026 Cancer in Iowa report and new findings from the Harkins Institute, there's a toxic mix of 3 specific chemicals that we use more than almost anyone else. First is glyphosate. You know it is Roundup. Iowa uses more of this than any other state in the nation, literally pound for pound. While the EPA says it's fine, the International Agency of Research on Cancer calls it probable human carcinogens. In Iowa, 82% of the counties with the heaviest spraying also have non-Hodgkin's lymphoma rates, way above the national average. Do you think this is a coincidence? Then there's atrazine and acetochlor. These are heavy-duty weed killers. They are all so dangerous, they've been banned in the European Union. Yet here in Iowa, they are still a staple of our daily routine. We're talking about chemicals linked to everything from bladder and kidney cancer to leukemia. But it isn't just the chemicals we spray. It's what they leave behind. We're facing a crisis in our water. Nitrates from fertilizer manure are leaching into our wells at levels that should be a national emergency. Some studies are even showing cancer links even at levels the EPA currently considers safe. We're told these are the tools of the trade. But when did tools become something that poisons your neighbor's drinking water? When did the cost of doing business become a cancer diagnosis for a 35-year-old grocery store manager or a lifelong farmer? The problem doesn't just stop at the edge of the field. It's moving into the one thing we can't live without, our water. Let's talk about nitrates. Iowa has some of the highest nitrate levels in the country, largely thanks to massive unregulated waste systems from fertilizers and nearly 4,000 confined animal feed operations. We have 2.5 times more of these facilities than Minnesota, the next state on the list. Here's the part that should make your blood boil. The EPA's safe limit for nitrates is 10 milligrams per liter, but new research suggests that if you're drinking water with even half that amount for a long time, your risk for colorectal, bladder, and kidney cancer shoots way up. In some cases, exposure to levels as low as 2.5 milligrams per liter over a 10-year period was linked to a 300% increased risk of colorectal cancer. Last summer, rivers in central Iowa hit record highs, forcing Des Moines to ban lawn watering just to keep the drinking supply from being overwhelmed by poison. And if that wasn't enough, we're now dealing with the fallout from the PFAS, the forever chemicals. These things don't break down, ever. A recent report found PFAS in 94% of Iowa's surface water and 30% of our groundwater. They've been used in everything from non-stick pans to firefighting foam, and they are now showing strong association with kidney and testicular cancer. We are living in a toxic mix. We're being exposed to a cocktail of pollutants that build on one another. If you live in a city, your water treatment plant is fighting a losing battle. If you're on a private well, you're essentially on your own to test for these invisible killers. Remember, this isn't a natural disaster. This is a policy disaster. As of April of 2026, the Raccoon and Des Moines River are facing a state of emergency. The pollution is so severe that Des Moines' purification system, once considered a global marvel, is now frequently overwhelmed. The Des Moines Water Works operates the world's largest nitrate removal facility. In the first few months of 2026, the facility has been forced to run nearly 90% of the time just to keep tap water compliant. Operating the specialized system costs taxpayers between $10,000 and $16,000 per day in labor and materials. This facility was designed to manage occasional spikes, not unlimited pollution. When nitrate levels stay elevated for weeks, the plant's production capacity drops significantly because the treatment process becomes slower and more complex. Here is something even more mind-blowing. For over 20 years, the Des Moines Water Works operated under a legal permit that allowed it to remove nitrates from drinking water and discharge the highly concentrated waste back into the Raccoon River. That was a routine occurrence from 1992 until early 2019. The Iowa Department of Natural Resources permitted this because the utility wasn't technically adding chemicals to the river. They were simply returning what was already there, just in a more concentrated form. It was a no net gain, so why not? The Raccoon and Des Moines River rank in the top 1% for nitrate concentration out of more than 2,000 rivers surveyed in the United States. Nitrate levels in the Raccoon River have recently peaked as high as 20.55 milligrams per liter. That's more than double the EPA's federal safety limit of 10 milligrams per liter. Roughly 80% of the nitrogen in these rivers is tied directly to industrial agriculture, primarily from fertilizer runoff and manure from livestock operations. Now we have to ask the hard question. If the data is clear, why isn't the State House on fire with urgency? It's because of the Cancer Gag Act. That's right, you heard me. The Cancer Gag Act. For the last 2 years, lobbyists for Bayer, the giant behind Roundup, have poured over $200,000 into our Iowa Capitol to push a bill that would shield pesticide companies from lawsuits. Their logic? As long as the label is federally approved, they shouldn't be held liable for not warning you about cancer. Think about that. While we lead the nation in cancer growth, our politicians have spent their time debating how to make it harder for you to hold these corporations accountable. And where's the leadership? In her 2026 Conditions of the State address, Governor Reynolds finally admitted Iowa is number one in cancer growth. She promised $50 million for screening and detection, which sounds great on a headline, but notice the play. She's funding the detection of the disease after it happens, rather than just regulating the source of the poison. It's kind of like being told the bridge is collapsing, and instead of fixing the bridge, the government buys more ambulances to wait at the bottom of the ravine. The Iowa Corn Growers Association and other big ag groups are currently lobbying to ensure that restricting pesticide use stays off the table. They say they're protecting the farmers, but we know the truth. They're protecting the profit margins of the chemical. We're being told this is just the way it is. But when 89% of Iowans oppose these corporate shield laws, we have to ask, who are these politicians actually representing? Now let's talk about President Trump's Executive Order 1438, which he signed back on February 18th of this year. The order, titled Promoting the National Defense by Ensuring an Adequate Supply of Essential Phosphorus and Glyphosate-Based Herbicides, declares these agricultural inputs as critical to national security. By framing them this way, the administration effectively treats these productions as a defense priority, similar to wartime manufacturing. The order uses the Defense Production Act of 1950 to secure the supply chain, which carries significant legal ramifications for manufacturers. The order allows the Secretary of Agriculture to mandate that manufacturers prioritize government contracts and specific production levels for elemental phosphorus. It's a key fertilizer mutation ingredient, and glyphosate, the weed killer. Because the federal government is now ordering and compelling the production of these chemicals as a matter of national defense, manufacturers can argue in court that they are acting as a federal contractor. This provides a powerful defense in ongoing and future liability lawsuits, such as those involving the Roundup. The order specifically instructs federal agencies to ensure that new regulations do not undermine the corporate viability or financial stability of these producers. This is huge when it comes to holding massive corporations accountable for rising cancer rates and deaths in not only the state of Iowa, but in the U.S. as a whole. This means that we have no recourse to pursue legal action against these corporations. The executive order is part of a broader push to shield the chemical industry from billions in litigation. And then there's Farm Bill H.R. 7567. Parallel to the executive order, a draft of the 2026 Farm Bill includes provisions that would bar states or cities from requiring health warning labels on pesticides that go beyond EPA federal dictates. This has caused quite a rift in the Make America Healthy Again movement. While some supporters of the administration want to limit toxic chemicals, others argue that banning them would cause the food system to collapse. I want to be incredibly clear. I am 100% pro-farmer. My intent isn't to speak out against the people working this land, but rather the broken system and the chemical practices they've been forced into using just to survive. This isn't an attack on the farmer. It's an attack on the business as usual that's making our neighbors sick. Truth is, I don't have the solution to the problem. I do know that in 2025, 71,542 people died of drug overdoses. In 2022, drug overdoses hit an all-time high of 110,000 fatalities. This was high enough that both the federal government and various states have officially declared the opioid and drug overdose situation to be a national crisis and a public health emergency. The U.S. government first officially declared the opioid crisis a national public health emergency on October 26, 2017. On March 18, 2025, Secretary of Health and Human Services Robert F. Kennedy Jr. renewed the national declaration. These renewals occur every 90 days to sustain federal coordination, funding flexibilities, and research efforts. Many governors have used their executive power to declare state of emergencies to bypass bureaucratic hurdles for treatments and Narcan distribution. States like Alaska, Arizona, Florida, Maryland, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, Virginia have all issued emergency orders at various points during the epidemic. While Iowa hasn't maintained a perpetual state of emergency, in the same way the state government has officially designated it a devastating crisis to unlock over $365 million in settlement funds for treatment and preventing programs as of early 2026. In 2025, President Trump signed an executive order classifying fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction to prioritize enforcement and interdictions. I tell you all this to show you the sense of urgency that our government is giving to help eradicate the drug crisis in America. This is where it gets interesting. In 2026, an estimated 626,140 people will die from cancer in the United States. Now let that number sink in. This is approximately 1,720 deaths every single day. Compare that to the 196 people that die every single day from drug overdoses. Now, I'm not trying to take anything away from the deaths of the drug overdoses. I do agree there is a drug epidemic in America. But what about cancer? Tell me why the hell cancer has not officially been declared a state of emergency in the United States. Over 2 million people will be diagnosed with cancer this year. As previously mentioned, the government of Iowa has declared drugs a crisis so they could unlock $365 million in funds to aid in the issue. What kind of help do Iowans get from their government for help with cancer? Governor Kim Reynolds is allocating $50 million this year from a federal rural health grant to establish cancer care hubs and increase screening in high-risk rural areas. Come on, Governor. That's all you have for us? I need help understanding the disparity. Why is there such a massive gap between how we treat the drug crisis and how we treat the cancer crisis? Why aren't we outraged? Our friends, our families, and our fellow Americans are dying by the hundreds of thousands every year, yet the headlines stay silent. The math doesn't lie. Cancer is killing over 8 times more people than the drug overdoses. It is time to wake the hell up, America. We are losing a generation to a crisis nobody wants to name. We see the drug crisis on the news every single night, but the cancer crisis, which remember kills 8 times as many people, is treated like a quiet background noise. Our families are dying, our neighbors are being diagnosed, and the silence is deafening. We can't afford to stay asleep anymore. America needs to wake up and look at what is actually killing us. I know some of this might sound anti-farmer, but that couldn't be further from the truth. I'm a hardworking American who was handed a cancer diagnosis at 39, not because of a lifestyle choice, but because of an environmental factor completely out of my control. I'm not here to point fingers at the people who feed us. I'm here because I desperately want what's best for my family, my neighbors, and every Iowan who deserves clean water and a healthy future. I'm speaking out because I refuse to watch my neighbors and my family suffer from crisis we have the power to fix. This isn't about attacking an industry, it's about protecting our lives. Iowa is known for feeding the world, but we shouldn't have to sacrifice our lives to do it. We've seen the charts. We felt the loss in our own living rooms. To my fellow Iowans, the time for polite silence is over. We owe it to our kids to clean up the soil and clean out the chemicals. Don't let another diagnosis be the wake-up call for your family. Support the farmers who are trying to do it right and hold the people in power accountable for the ones who aren't. We have to stop treating this like an unfortunate reality and start treating it like the emergency it is. If you're listening to this, your mission is simple. Stop being quiet. Ask what's in your water. Demand to know what's being sprayed next to your home. We aren't just statistics. We are mothers, fathers, and neighbors who refuse to be the collateral damage of a broken system. The science is there. The solutions are available. And the only thing missing is our collective voices. This is our land. This is our health. And we are taking it back. Stand up, speak out, and let's fix this before we lose another generation to the silence. We're standing in the middle of a beautiful, productive state that is literally making us sick. If we keep following this path, the Iowa Nice we're so proud of is going to be a memory shared in a hospital waiting room. We are on track to be the cancer capital of the Western world. Also, a few corporations' balance sheets can look green in a quarterly report. I want you to do me a favor. Tonight, when you're brushing your teeth or pouring a glass of water for your kids, I want you to really look at it because the system isn't going to look at it for you. Here's what flyover logic looks like in practice. First, test your water. If you're on a private well, don't wait for the state to offer. Organizations like Iowa Environmental Council and local labs have resources to help you find out exactly what's in your tap. Knowledge is the only thing they can't take from you. Second, pick up your phone. Call your representative and ask them one simple question. Why are you more worried about shielding Bayer from a lawsuit than you are about cancer rates in your own district? Tell them you know about the Cancer Gag Act. Tell them you aren't buying the detection over prevention cause. Finally, talk to your neighbors. This isn't about being a Democrat or Republican. This is about being an Iowan who wants to see their grandkids grow up. The corporation wants us divided because a divided public is easy to ignore. But showing a unified front, that's a force they can't lobby their way out of. We're told this is the cost of progress. I say the cost is too high. I'm Sam Ruiz. This is Flyover Logic. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time. We're just getting started. Until then, stay informed, stay brave, and stay loud, Iowa. The next generation is counting on us.